This is the quiz video tutorial for section 1.7 quiz. We are solving absolute value equations, and since we have this absolute value by itself, we want to take whatever is inside the absolute value, which in this case is 2x plus 3. And if that is a positive 13, absolute value of positive 13 is 13, absolute value of a negative 13 is also 13. So I take that 2x plus 3, I set it equal to a positive 13, and then I also set it equal to a negative 13. Go ahead and I'm going to solve. So whenever I solve for x, I'm going to start on the one on the left, so I'm going to say minus 3 and minus 3. The minus 3 will cancel. That leaves me with 2x equals, and then 13 minus 3 is 10. And now I have 2x equals 10, so it's 2 times x, so I divide by 2, divide by 2. The 2's cancel. That leaves us with x equals, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. That's one of our answers. Now we'll go ahead and work the next one. Do the exact same thing on the right equation here for the negative 13. So I'm going to say minus 3 and minus 3. The 3's cancel. That leaves us with 2x equals, negative 13 and negative 3 are like signs, so we add. That gives us a negative 16. That's 2 times x, so I divide by 2, divide by 2. That cancels and leaves us with x equals negative 16 divided by 2 is a negative 8. Now you can check. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 3 is 13. Absolute value is 13 is 13. So that is a good solution. Negative 8. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. Negative 16 plus 3 is negative 13. Absolute value of negative 13 is a positive 13. So that one works as well. That is those both are good answers for number 1. We now move on to number 2. On number 2, we have 4x equals the absolute value of 2x plus 6. So I'm going to take everything that's inside all of this, and I'm going to set it equal to the positive and negative. So I'm going to say 4x equals 2x plus 6, but then I'm also going to set it equal to the negative 4x equals 2x plus 6. Now I'm going to solve each of those for x. Since I have x's on both sides, I need to move my x's together. So I'm going to move my 2x. I'm going to say minus 2x and minus 2x. The 2x and negative 2x cancels. 4x minus 2x is just 2x equals 6. Then I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. The 2's cancel, and that leaves us with x equals 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's one of my solutions. Now we're second the same way, so that's 2x, so I'm going to say minus 2x, just like we did on the other one. 2x and the negative 2x cancel. Negative 4x and negative 2x are like signs, so we add, and that gives us negative 6x equals 6. That's negative 6 times x, so I divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6. Those cancel, and that leaves us with x equals 6 divided by negative 6 is a negative 1. So that's my answer there. Now I'm going to check, since that x is over there, we have to check for extraneous. So I'm going to plug the 3 back in, so that's going to go 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. Absolute value of 12 is 12. And then plug the 3 in for the x on the 4, so that's 4 times 3 is 12. So that one is 12 equals 12. On this side, the negative 1, when I plug the negative 1 back in for the x, negative 1 times 4 gives me a negative 4. Inside the absolute value will give me a positive 4, so I know this one does not work, so this one is an extraneous solution. And I'm just going to label that as ES, extraneous solution. So x equals 1, x equals negative 1 is an extraneous solution. And that is the answer for number 2. We now move on to number 3. On this one, we have absolute value, the 3 minus 2x inside the absolute value. So I'm going to set it equal to both the positive and the negative side. So that's going to go 3 minus 2x equals 5 minus x. And then I'm also going to set it equal to the negative side. So 3 minus 2x equals, now on this one, when I set it equal to the negative would apply to both the 5 and the minus x. So negative, that becomes a negative 5 and a positive x. When you apply the negative, it changes both signs. Now I'm going to solve the left one first. So since I have x's on both sides, I've got to get my x's together. So I'm going to move the minus 2x. So I'm going to say plus 2x and plus 2x. It does not matter which one you move. I'm just moving 2x so I get a positive number. So those cancel. That leaves us with 3 equals 5, and negative 1x and positive 2x gives us a positive x. All right, now I got one more step. I've got the 5. I've got to move away from the x, so that's a positive 5. So I say minus 5 and minus 5. 5 and negative 5 cancel. 3 and negative 5 is a negative 2. So all I have left is x equals, and then 3 minus 5 is the negative 2. And put it back over here, and that is my answer for the left side. Now I'm going to do the same process on the other side. I'm going to get my x's together, so I'm going to say plus 2x and plus 2x. The 2x's will cancel, and that leaves us with 3 equals negative 5, and 1x plus 2x is 3x. Now I want to get my x's by itself, so I need to get rid of that 5, so I'm going to say plus 5 and plus 5. That cancels, and that's going to leave us with 8 equals 3. So now I want to get the x by itself, so I divide by 3, and that leaves us with x equals 8/3. That won't divide evenly, so I just leave it as 8/3. On this one, I substitute back in, make sure that it works out correctly. So negative 2 goes in for the x. So that's going to be negative 2 times minus 2. So negative times a negative becomes a positive. So 2 times 2 is 4. So it's going to be 3 plus 4. So that gives us 7. So it ends up being a 7 on that one. Then I plug the negative 2 on the other side. Minus a negative. So 5 minus a negative 2 becomes plus 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So that one does work out because it gives us 7 equals 7. 8/3, and I'll plug it in. That's going to go negative 2 times 8/3 is going to go negative 16/3. So 9/3, when I find the common number, so 9/3 minus 16/3 is negative 7/3, which ends up being a positive 7/3. And then on this, I go 15/3 minus 8/3 is also 7/3. So that one ends up giving us, when we check it, 7/3 equals 7/3. And that one also works. So both of those are good solutions. We now move on to number 4. Number 4 is a little different because it has the absolute value is not by itself. So we need to get the absolute value by itself first. So I need to get rid of this plus 6. So I'm going to say minus 6, minus 6. And when I do that, that leaves us with 2/3 x minus 6. Absolute value. The 6's cancel, and that leaves us 18 minus 6 is 12. So now that I've got it down, now the absolute value is by itself. So since we have this absolute value by itself, now I take the absolute value, the 2/3 x minus 6, and I set that equal to both the positive side and the 2/3 x minus 6, and set it equal to the negative side. So now we're ready to solve, so I'm going to do the opposite, be solving for x, so that's a minus 6, so I go plus 6 and plus 6. The 6's cancel, and that leaves us with 2/3 x, and then 12 plus 6 is 18. And then I want to get rid of the fraction. In order to get rid of that's 2/3 times x. So normally we would divide by a fraction. When you divide by a fraction, we end up multiplying by the reciprocal. So 3/2 to this side, and 3/2 to this side. The 3 cancels the 3, the 2 cancels the 2. So that leaves us with x equals, And then 18 times 3 would be 54, and that would be over 1. So 54, and then 1 times 2 would be 2. So 54 over 2, and then that reduces to be 27. And that is your answer for that side. Then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Solve, so I'm going to say plus 6 and plus 6. 6 and the negative 6 cancel. So that leaves us with 2/3 x equals negative 12 and a positive 6. Opposite signs we subtract. That gives us negative 6. I got 2/3 times x. We would normally divide since it's multiply. When we divide by fractions, we end up multiplying by the reciprocal. So 3 over 2 and 3 over 2. The 3 cancels the 3, the 2 cancels the 2. And that leaves us with x equals, once again, that 6 would be over 1, so negative 6 times 3, multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. So negative 6 times 3 would be a negative 18, 1 times 2 would be 2. Negative 18 divided by 2 would be a negative 9. Since there's not an x on the other side, we should not have any extraneous solutions. We can go ahead and check. 2/3 times 27 gives us 18. 18 minus 6 is 12. Absolute value of 12 is 12. Plus 6 is 18. So that one does work. Negative 9 times 2/3 is going to give us a negative 6. Negative 6 and negative 6 gives us negative 12. Absolute value of negative 12 is 12. And then 12 plus 6 is 18. So negative 9 also works. That is your solution for number 4. And that concludes the video tutorial for section 1.7 quiz.